All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 o'clock now. Let's go ahead and start our meeting. If you would, please proudly stand with me to repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brother Larry.
We pray. Father in heaven, thank you for this opportunity to come out and socialize and have a good time with our friends. Pray, Lord, that everything we do will be in order and in pleasing to you. And pray that we'll learn something this evening about something very pertinent to us, to ham radio and to other folks. And Lord, may we be a service to this community and to you. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Amen.
I certainly appreciate everybody being here tonight. I have to sadly start the meeting with something that is going to hurt us all. Brother Herschel McGraw passed away today at 1:40. If you don't know him, he's the person who named our club Deep South Amateur Radio Club a couple of years ago. He's had a hard fight with some health issues here lately, and I ask you to pray for his daughter Debbie, K4KKY. He is Herschel is K4KKX. You may remember him as doing the nets, him and his daughter, on Friday nights with the Mobile Civil Defense. And he did a great job. He was a great asset and a great person for ham radio community. He'll be sadly missed, needless to say. We have several things to go over tonight that are interesting. And of course, our talk on situational awareness that'll be coming up. We've had a couple little changes on some things, but everything is changing for the good. So we still have our voter repeaters working on expanding our repeater system. That's still a work in progress, and so that'll be happening. We're going to have the best coverage in South Alabama, we feel, without doubt. We're on the way there strongly right now, and that's what we want to have. So all ham radio operators can use this system from Florida to Mississippi to north of Alabama up near Chatham here. From the east, again from the west and to the north. And that will happen very soon. We have at least one new person here, Mr. Doug. If you would stand up and introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, I'm 40 years old. Been licensed since 95. I've been out for about 8 years just getting back from my home, and I'm a general collector. So.
All right, so very good. And who else do we got? So we have.
CRI.
Yes, sir. Introduce yourself, and I always remember your call sign. I'm sure probably like a lot of people cry at the end of it. So anyway, introduce yourself again, please, sir.
Yes, I'm KN4CRI, Keith Grayson from Saraland, Alabama. Just got my general class about, I guess, back in June. First got into amateur radio when I was a teenager. My first transmitter was consisted of a coil from a 1950 Plymouth. And a toilet paper cardboard tube is involved in that. So it tells you a little bit about how far back I go, but I was out of it for a number of years and just got back in June. So.
Yeah, Keith's been a ham radio operator now for 20 years. We're glad to have you. We're glad to have Doug and Keith here with us tonight. We do have a very interesting topic. We have several things that again to go over with. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and just start with our secretary and our minutes, if he's got them. That's what I was fixing to say, if you can find them. Lee recently moved. I knew that we passed the minutes from the last meeting. Anyway, Lee recently moved, and he's got a beautiful home now. We congratulate him and April on their new residence. He does have everything still piled up in a lot of places. So that is a
Make a motion we dispense with reading the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we'll pass over to the next meeting and read the minutes then. Ms. Treasurer.
Sir. Balance on hand as of the last meeting was $1,858.80. We had a deposit of membership fees of $750 for Mike Harris and a donation of $250. Total income $10, no disbursements. We now have a balance of $1,868.80.
Make a motion to accept the report as read.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. All opposed? Brian's not here, so anyway. Yeah, we won't have the one opposed. Mr. Dave, would you like to speak a minute? Our Vice President, Dave Wells, K4HDW.
Yeah, two updates I have. I did some interesting testing the past couple days on our repeater, some of the cupboards that it's working. I know a lot of it had to do with band conditions, but I tested the thing repeatedly from the Phoenix Springs, Florida, and a lot in Panama City. So on the Florida side, it's working very strong. The other update I have is on our Ham Fest. Due to things been busy, Mr. Jay was coordinating and done a fantastic job to get things started. And he's been busy and things have been tied up, so we're changing gears, and Mr. Steve Hale is going to take over as primary on the Ham Fest there. And that way we'll keep the ball rolling, and everybody and Jay and Steve are still going to have a part of it and everything. So that's all I got for right now.
All right, very good. Yeah, Jay's got some great ideas. We certainly don't want him. He's let me tell you something. If you've ever been a law enforcement officer, we don't work. We're subject to work 24 hours, and the reason we're subject to work 24 hours is to help feed our family. It's not just fighting crime all the time. I used to work 8 hours. I said at my fun job as a police officer. Then I worked 8 hours sometimes with Steve Hale as an electrician to do real work. So yeah, that's what a lot of us do. Let's see here. We are going to give away a little something tonight that every ham radio operator. Everybody here got a ticket yet? Okay.
I think I gave everybody.
Okay. It's something that it's not worth $1 million, but somebody can certainly. That's it. Bingo, you win. You guessed it. So yeah, that's right. Let's see here. We have. I would like for. We had a real interesting time. The news media, was screaming about Hurricane Nate, and here we are. We had we started up a net, and Tim started it up. He was the main player in it. I assisted in it some, being net control. But it was amazing that all of a sudden I get a call a couple of days later, and I'm going to let Tim talk about that. But we're on the map, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to tell you right now, there was no dramatization of the wind speeds, the rainfall amounts. Everything that we gave was 100% accurate. And I was very proud that we didn't have anybody standing up there in a trench coat blowing back and forth with a 25-mile-an-hour wind. So anyway, like I said,
I was standing on my porch.
that's what I'm talking about. And that shelter, you didn't really need it. Well, Alan has a super nice, like a bomb shelter, literally, that's quite expensive. And unfortunately, he's like, Valera, here it comes, get the keys, But it never really materialized to much more than a pretty good. Now it did get bad for a few people out there, and the waters did get pretty high for some of the folks. But thank God we were all spared this. We did have one incident happen during the net that was dangerous in my opinion. And Tim is a former law enforcement officer, and he thought about it. He said that if something other was to come out of it and somebody would have been hurt, he would have pursued charges, and I wouldn't have blamed him. But anyway, I'm gonna let Tim go ahead and talk about the weather net. I received so many compliments about our net from the ham radio operators, from the community, from anybody that had a radio, the neighboring ham radio people, about Tim's net and what all we did and he's going to explain about that in just a second. And it just made me so proud about what he's fixing to talk about. I may add a little something other to it, may not, depends on how much he covers it. But however, it was a very good thing for Deep South Amateur Radio Club and what we did. And go ahead, Mr. Tim, if you'll come up here and address everybody.
All right, we received.
Come on up here, Tim.
We received a request from EMA to write a report because apparently we had more stations to check in than they did. We had 53 stations that checked in for that hurricane net. And I had quite a few people that were relaying hourly observations. And as soon as you sent them to me, I sent them straight to the National Weather Service. To the point to where while I was standing there, sitting at that desk, typing in one, I look up on the screen and there's the hurricane net. Had got a request from the National Hurricane Center directly to them to contact us and to send them wind speed reports of 20 miles an hour or more. They wanted us to send it directly to them. But they were seeing it at the same time that I was seeing it, that I was putting it up on the computer. So I was actually operating 2 radios and the internet at the same time. But we were actually feeding them. Larry went in up on the hurricane net, fed information to them. I fed information to them, as well as sending it back over to them on the internet. So that portal works out great. In fact, T-Ray told me he actually cut off his weather radio because he was getting stuff faster from me over the ham radio than he was over the weather radio. So we did a good thing. All right. So what we did was that night we were relaying. We relayed more than 12 tornado warnings in Mobile, Bowen, and Washington counties over our net, because they were coming in. As soon as they would come up on the computer, I automatically sent it out. We were also, as I've already stated, we were sending hourly rain and wind reports to them. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. So when it was all said and done, EMA comes and that requests that we write up a report and send to them so that they could incorporate it into everything they gave to FEMA. So we actually played a major role in that. So give yourself a hand.
That's right.
Now, so being the first time we ever did this out of the box, hey, great. We did great. So I can assure you we'll be called on in the future. So look forward to it. All right, as Mike alluded, right in the middle of us doing all this, somebody decided they wanted to a stroke or something. I'm assuming that because they were keying the microphone, wasn't saying nothing. It was intentionally being done. So I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, because I know there's nobody in this room who's doing it. But you know other ham radio operators. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Title 13A, Criminal Code of the State of Alabama. Chapter 6, subsection 24, reckless endangerment. A person commits the crime of reckless endangerment if he recklessly engages in conduct. The law defines basically the flexation of a single muscle in your hand to do something as conduct. You intentionally did it. All right? Which creates a substantial risk of serious physical injury to another person. When we're sitting up here transmitting these messages back and forth from us to the National Weather Service, that's getting sent to other places. A lot of times warnings are issued because of information that will come from us. If I ever find a person, a specific person who keys during an emergency net, I will swear a warrant out under that title right there for your arrest. Now, I'm not saying that to you. I want you to send that out to the ham radio community at large. Because whoever it was, I want them to know this. Now, that's a Class A misdemeanor, punishable by imprisonment up to 1 year and a fine of $2,000 or less. All right. Also, since we now report to EMA and that goes to FEMA, I don't see why that won't carry any such actions into the federal realm. So let it be known, if I'm conducting an emergency net, nobody needs to come up there playing and acting a fool, because I take it very seriously. I was a police communications officer for the city of Chickasaw, and in fact, that was my bailiwick for a long time. I don't mess around with stuff like that. So, like I say, be proud of what we accomplished. When the National Hurricane Center makes specific requests of you, you know you're doing something right.
Tim, will you share a copy of the report that you sent them with us?
Yes, sir, we will.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You know, we're not being hard-nosed about this or anything, but Dave and the people who are electronics people who have the capability of tracking these people and monitoring their wattage output, this was not an accident. This was an intentional act that happened that night. And so, again, we're sitting out here, we're doing stuff to help the community. We certainly don't need anybody doing something like this. Dave came back and told me that he was noticing the fluctuation of wattage that this person was doing intentionally. And so that's the only reason we're really saying this right here. This is you know, as Tim said, it's no joke when we're doing this. And my point of this, or the highlight of this whole net is that EMA came to us wanting a report from me. And then I compiled all the information, and again, it thrilled me that 53 people from Friday afternoon till about 3 o'clock Sunday morning, 30 minutes after 12 Sunday morning, meaning just after midnight, that we had 53 call signs of people monitoring the radio from over in Baldwin County up to Chatham, over to certainly here in Mobile area to Mississippi, and everybody was nice enough to check in and give us accurate weather reportings. We did not have any negative talk from EMA or from anybody else that we produced this report from. It was well received and appreciated. And again, 53 people, and a big part of them, just like Tim said, was in this room that helped, and then of course some other people around the surrounding areas.
And hopefully in the next 60 days, KM4Y around Tim, my son, he's assured me that we can have a system in place that nobody wants to key, because we'll have them within less than a minute.
Well, that's, you know, again, it's a big word in law that we as law enforcement officers deal with is intent, and this was intentional that this person did this. But again, it all worked out really, really well. It didn't last very long. So, and I told Tim to let it go. That you know, don't talk back to this person or anything. We just wanted to go away, and he did after about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it was. But go ahead, Dave.
I'm saying, you know, to kind of allude to what they were saying, there's 3 of us in this area that have some specialized equipment. It's what we do for a living. We were able to watch signals from various power levels. So for it to be an accident, okay, maybe, but the varying power levels of watching the signal come up and down with the spectrum analyzer at 8 different antennas. So it was pretty easy to pinpoint about where it was, but you know, we're not calling out anybody, but if you had an actual emergency, someone need to get through. For me, up in North Wilmer, I lost power and trees come down on the roof, things like that. With no power, it took me 150 watts with a beam to get through to the tower on 2 meters. So somebody's doing something interesting.
Also, Lee Rich is the president of South Baldwin Amateur Radio Club, and here's something that somebody you might want to make note of, or if you can get back with me as well. Scott Wallace is Baldwin County. He works for or I guess he's one of the major he is part of management of EMA in South Baldwin. Number one, if you get a chance to go to their club over South Baldwin and one of their meetings, go. It's a very, very nice facility there at EMA. You're in part of the operations room with everybody. They're really nice people. They have a lot of classes there that we all need to take with weather, with communications, and such as that. And this being one of them. They have a Skywarn Storm Spotter class coming up. So, say again?
Level 1 or level 2?
I don't.
Advanced?
I don't.
It is the basic.
Okay.
Mike, I'd like to comment.
Okay, go
I've
ahead.
been in contact with Jason at the National Weather Service here in Mobile. I told him that we had 15 people here that are showing an interest. So he's going to look at when he can schedule one for here in Mobile County.
Okay, very good.
I told him we wasn't in a hurry for it, but, you know, we didn't have to have it done this month or next month, but just whatever works into his schedule. So he's going to get back with him.
Alan, you check and see if he can do level 2?
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Yeah,
people
it's
have
here,
one.
the basic been through one.
Okay.
And, you know, again, you know, even if you, you know, if you've been through level 1, you want to go through it again, you know, just for a refresher. For me, I know that sometimes if I go back, you know, if Alan's teaching one and Jay's teaching another one, for example, they're going to teach 2 different ways, just like they would over in South Baldwin over there. So you generally always get a little something else out of it, just like the talk we'll have tonight on situational awareness. Everybody teaches different, and, you know, you can sit up here and say, okay, look outside, look around you, blah, blah, blah. Steve's got some very interesting things to add to this tonight, a little bit later on, as you will see. But this is again from Scott Wallace and from Rich Lee. It will be, it says it's November the 7th, and I guess it's a one-day. It says, will you disseminate this to everybody, and all hands are invited. So I have all this information right here on it. And if you'd like to attend, you're certainly welcome to come here and look at this. And I would attend it if I were you. If you haven't been through it, it's very interesting. And I'm telling you, Hodge and I can testify that you can be looking at a tornado and not even know it's there. We did it. I knew the clouds were different. I couldn't explain it. I told her that. And 2 minutes later, it's coming out over the regular radio. And we were looking at a tornado on 65 out here in Midtown Mobile. And had I had probably a little bit farther training on this, I would have realized it while it was sitting out there tearing things up. Sometimes tornadoes, you know, you can't just see them. They're tearing things up. You don't just actually see the funnel cloud, but you will, you know, most of the time see it, and you will certainly see debris, what have you, the chaos that it creates. Let's go ahead and take us a little break, and yes, ma'am, go ahead.
This is from Debbie. It says that we are having visitation Sunday night, and funeral is going to be Monday for Mr. Herschel, by the way. I don't have the times yet, but as I get it, I'll post it on our website.
Do you have the location?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, but where?
Probably in Bay Minette.
Probably north.
Yeah, Bay Minette. But as soon as I get the information, I'll let you all know.
I'll send it out on blanket
Okay.
email as well to everybody. If I don't have your email address, or if you're not getting my emails, please let me know. And if you have anybody that you want to add to us, we are bumping 220 people, ladies and gentlemen. We just keep progressing. And please consider joining our club if you'd like to. We are growing. It's getting better and better all the time. We've got a lot of things coming up. Some of this stuff, you know, some of our equipment things do need to be kept online, and every now and then it takes $1 or $2 here or there to keep it online. Miss Sandy's doing an excellent job of taking care of Larry's money and ours too. So anyway, we sure appreciate her. Let's take us a little break and we'll come back and we'll get into something. Mr. Dorr, go ahead.
Don't tell everybody that. I was supposed to get some.
All right, very good. All right, let's take a little break. We'll be right back. Our good friend, Mr. Keith Grayson, has petitioned our club to be a member. So with that being said, all in favor of having Mr. Keith Grayson as a member of our club, please raise your hand. It looks like Mr. Keith Grayson is now a member of our club. We also have Mr. Doug Armentrout, who has petitioned our club for being a member. And again, all in favor? Mr. Doug, you are now a member of Deep South Amateur Radio Club. Congratulations to both of you. And I was born to give this back to my secretary, or she would come and take away my birthday or something like that. Anyway, let's see here. What else did I say I was going to do? That, and we're going to go ahead. Hey, if everybody would, Mr. Photographer, where you at? There you are. You moved for a second. Anyway, how would you like us? We're going to go ahead and do a group photo tonight of everybody here, and we can keep for our archives. And we're going to, if we got some kind of a deal or whatever on getting everybody a copy of this or approximate cost or whatever.
Mike, I'll give it to the club. I ain't got a problem with that.
Well, I think it sounds like we're all getting a picture for free, so I'd like to tell Mr. Ronnie from all of us. All right. And anyway, would you like for them to all come up here to the front and let's do it like that, or how do you suggest?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it like that.
You the man. You tell us how to do it.
If you want to do it right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hang on, I got a chain trap on it.
And I said, it's really, it's something that's been on my mind, on my heart, because I look at all of us as extended family. We're ham family. Y'all need help at your house with antennas, whatever. We come over and help. We help each other in this family. And this is something that all you got to do is turn on the TV and watch the news. The first 15 minutes, Mr. Don said yesterday at the luncheon, the first 15 minutes is just depressing. It's just bad news all the time. So I wanted to talk to y'all as law enforcement to just give you some ideas, some ways of thinking that you might not be used to doing. But it's on situational awareness. If I can figure out how this thing works.
Is your computer on? There you go now.
Here we go.
There we go.
We'll do it that way. What is situational awareness? Situational awareness is the ability to identify, process, and comprehend elements of information in a crisis event, interpret that information, and then act accordingly to your current situation. That's a big, long definition, but what it really boils down to is common sense. You've got to use your common sense. If you see something doesn't look right, then go ahead and recognize that and go, hey, I might need to get out of this situation.
Yeah, Steve, that's not gonna work. You're gonna, do that.
How about that? Situational awareness can be applied in every aspect of our daily lives, from playing sports to driving cars, at work. We use it every day. If you work in especially like some type of factory or a job where you're working with machinery, heavy machinery, you got to be aware of what's going on around you, because otherwise you're going to get hurt. For this particular topic tonight, I'm going to basically be covering how it applies to you in a criminal act, or God forbid, an act of terrorism happens. And I'm going basically worst case scenario, because if you can prepare for that, then everything else is easy. It's important to note that situational awareness is more of a mindset. It's not something like playing a piano where if you practice, you get better at it. It's how you think. And every situation is different. Whatever comes up, you're going to be looking at it, you're going to be processing it differently in each situation. In a crisis event, human beings will handle a perceived threat in one of three ways. You're either going to fight the situation, you're going to run away, flight, or you're going to freeze. You're going to do one of those three things. For years, they talked about the fight or flight response. Animals have that. Animals get startled, they take off, or either they fight. But within the last 20 years or so, they come up with the freeze response. And basically, when you encounter something that you've never encountered before, it takes your brain a little while, a few seconds, to process that information. And a lot of people will just basically stand there. The deer in the headlight. You know, you've heard that expression, deer in the headlight, but they'll just stand there. Well, those few seconds, if you have an active shooter, that can mean life or death. Those few seconds, so you really got to recognize that in that situation. Here's 10 ways to improve situational awareness. First off, trust your feelings. You know, if you go to Walmart, grocery store, whatever, and you see somebody, they're acting strange, you know, don't just go, hey, you know, that's just some crazy dude, and go on about your way. You know, think about that. Do I really want to get around this person? Avoid complacency. You know, we go to the same gas station, we go to the same store to buy our groceries, we go to the same Walmart. It feels like home after you've been going there for a long time. You know, that's my store. I go there all the time. And you'll get to where you kind of overlook things. You get complacent. It's the same. Normalcy bias is basically the same thing. You're used to this place, and even though you see something that doesn't look right, you go ahead anyway, and you go on in the store. I don't know if y'all saw last week, there was a story where, let's see, 2015, 4 Marines were killed outside of Chattanooga recruiting office. 2015, you had Saeed Farouk and, how do you say that, Tashfeen Malik.
Where?
They killed
Tashfeen
14.
Malik.
Yeah. They killed 14 in San Bernardino at the office where he worked, his workplace. 2016, we thought this was the worst. 49 people killed in a nightclub in Orlando until this year. Till this month, in fact. We had 59 so far that have died, 527 people injured at Las Vegas Strip. Going back to what you said, situational awareness. If you go back to 9/11, the guys that flew the planes into the building, when they went for flight instruction, they told the flight instructor, we don't care how to land the plane, we don't care how to take off. We just want to know how to fly it. He reported that to authorities, and they just, you know. So guns are the problem, right? Get rid of those evil guns. This will never happen. Knife violence in Britain is far worse than official statistics suggest. Almost 14,000 people are taken to the hospital for injuries caused by knives and other sharp objects last year. When you see these dates, it wasn't that I wouldn't pick this. Other countries, they don't want to tell you statistics. It's hard to find statistics that are current. You know, our FBI puts out statistics every year for the year before. Other countries don't do that. You know, you got an average of, go back on that, 38 victims of knife wounds are admitted to emergency rooms every day in Great Britain and Wales. That's from the UK Daily Mail. I like this one. Knife killings on the rise in Australia as gun murders fall. Why is that? Because they took all our guns away.
Confiscated.
Knife murders, or knife, you know, is on the rise. Knife killings because, oh wow, we took our guns away. This is crazy. The most recent homicide statistics, which, like I say, that's 2013, there were 21,603 killings in 2009 in Russia. The population of Russia is half the size of the population of America. For that same year, the FBI said we had 13,000 homicides. Can't own a gun in Russia. Not legally. There's guns there, you know, the mafia and all that.
AK-47s? Oh.
Yeah. I just threw this in. I thought this was kind of neat, but this goes back to 2013. There were 5,000. Sorry about that. I don't know why I touched it. There were 5,782 murders by handguns in the U.S. 20% of those happened in Illinois and California. 2 states with the most strict gun laws in the country. Yeah. And that's 20% of it. Of the handgun murders. Okay. Here's some more. China, 2014, 31 people were killed, 130 injured when a bunch of people just came through and started stabbing people at a train station. How crazy is that? You know? 2014, Calgary, you had 4 men and one woman, all in their 20s, was at a house party when a guy came in with a large knife and stabbed people. Last year in Japan, 19 people were killed at it's basically a nursing home. When a guy came in with a knife and attacked them. Here's something we're seeing over in Europe that, unfortunately, when something works, they stick to it. It's something to keep in mind. I think it's happened one time here, down in Texas, I believe. But we have another.
Driving down the sidewalk.
Yeah. Situational awareness. Fighting is a viable option and probably your first choice of action if the killer's very close to you, running away is not, something you can do safely. He's right there. You got to do something. That's an option. If you're armed, even with a pocket knife or pepper spray, you set up an ambush. Let's say you're locked down in a room and they come in. There's nowhere to go. Don't stand there and be just basically a rabbit. You need to fight. You need to fight the guy. You have fighting skills, or you're with a large group of people that are willing to work with you. If there's a shooter, his gun malfunction, or he's trying to attempting to reload, it's a good time to go up and just beat the ever-loving crap out of him and take his gun away from him. Or he drops his weapon or sets it down. Here's some options that when you might not want to run, you can't run. If you're like me, you're overweight, or you have some kind of physical problem where you can't run. You have young children, you can't run. Power's been cut, and you're in a building that's dark, and you're going to run into something and hurt yourself.
But you have to get to your opponent, the person that you're fighting.
Right.
I'm over here, I'm over here, and you're over there. I can't get to you, so I can't do nothing to you. When you have a gun, it's over.
Right.
So what would he do in a situation like that?
Talking about
I'm talking about in that scenario. What can I do? If we have this type of distance between, let's say I'm a martial, I'm a little Bruce Lee or something like that. What can I do? I don't have any. I can't get to you.
Right.
That's it. That's all I can do.
That's why I say every situation is different. You basically don't have to weigh your options.
Right.
Is it worth it to try to fight this guy, or is it better for me to try to run and just get away from him?
I'm saying to myself, I may get wounded or I may get taken out.
And there's no shame in running whatsoever.
I know, but if you can run, and you don't want to get shot in the back either,
Right.
but if you might as well go try to take the person out yourself.
The one thing they've studied, the shooters, people that are in that situation, they get tunnel vision. And they teach us this in training, that all you got to do is take 2 steps over, and that guy can't see you because he's got tunnel vision. He has to readjust his target. So that's something to keep in mind. When they're shooting, they're only seeing what's down that barrel. So if you're over here, it's a good time to get out of town.
I hope I never experienced that.
I hope nobody does. I hope I don't,
Hey, while you were speaking, I just got a bulletin that says, 1 dead, 1 in custody, officer involved shooting in Fairhope. So it's close to home.
Right. If you're running and you're running towards the exit and you're past the shooter, that's a situation where you would not want to run. Or if you're in very, close distance, that's common sense. You don't want to, especially if you're hiding, it's better to hide in that situation. Mike. Sometimes hiding is an effective tactic, sometimes it feels miserable. A classroom, we're in a classroom, somebody comes in a classroom, there's just not a lot of places we can hide here. You know, he comes to the door where, you know.
You would have picked the wrong buns.
This is true. Let's say in a college. It's just not, you know, not a whole lot. You can't hide under here, even if you flip it over. And I'm gonna show y'all something in a minute. Even if you flip this over, it's not gonna help.
We're gonna shoot through it, right? Not gonna mistake it.
The guy at Virginia Tech, people were laying on the ground. He came back and shot again, you know. So, might not always be a good thing to pretend like, you know, you're wounded. If you are wounded, you can't run. The killer is focusing on targets. Hiding by playing dead may be an effective option, but like I say, you know, it's just going to depend. You know, it's one of those things. Okay, if you can't get away from the threat, look for cover first, then concealment. I'm going to show y'all something. This is a piece of 1/4-inch thick steel. I took this out to the range and I shot this with the cheapest Walmart ammo I could find for my AR-15. And it went through it like it was hot butter. Plane went right through it. There's the entrance and you can see the exit.
Was it an FMJ?
Full metal jacket. Wolf brand. $5.50 a box.
Speak English.
Full metal jacket, not a soft point.
Right, full metal jacket.
I know what you meant.
So,
I know you did.
when you're looking for, let's say you've done everything right, I've looked, I've tried to identify whoever, but you still end up in a situation. Concealment is exactly what it sounds like. Concealment conceals you from, it can be a window shade, it could be anything. That door, anything that gets you out of his view. Cover is really what you want to find. Cover is something that's thick that this bullet will not go through. And it needs to be a concrete column or something. This desk, it's going to go through this desk. If it can go through that, it'll go through this desk, no problem. Cover or concealment? How about that? Really both. Yeah. Cover and concealment. I put this up here not to down people in Vegas, but knowing this now, is that good cover? You know.
That's particularly the point that you're making, because so many people watch TV, and if you watch TV, you watch any detective shows or NCIS or anything, they throw over a desk, they throw over a table, and they're protected.
Right.
And we all know that's nonsense.
Right.
That's a
Some
good
big
point.
blocks are concealed, but they're not covered.
Ma'am?
Some big blocks are concealed.
If they're not poured solid, it'll go right through. Yeah, go through it. If it's poured solid concrete, it depends on the round, the weapon they're using.
Steve, my pastor's niece was one of the people that got wounded out there.
Right.
She was laying on the ground on her back. She took a bullet in her around her waist, and it's still in her, but she's gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah, we went out to the range a couple of years ago. We basically built walls with sheetrock, and we did different materials just to see. It's just, stuff here. It goes right through. Even small arms, sheetrock, no problem. Yes, sir.
I worked with the U.S. Army and with the police in Kosovo, in Hajir's country, with homicide. Investigated numerous homicides over there. I was telling Steve the other day, a lot of these guys, like the shooter the other day, these AKs, M4s, AR-15s, they shoot a .223 round, like what he's talking about right here in this metal. Of every homicide I ever worked, if there was a victim inside a car, a tractor, or whatever, I never found the lid. It would go through the car door, through the victim, out the car door, and go wherever.
Yeah.
It was a tractor or whatever, it went through the glass like it had a cage on it, whatever, through the victim, out the other side. I never found the lid. It's like he's talking about. These are serious rounds.
Yeah, that bullet's traveling about 3,200 feet per second. So it's really moving. Yeah. And think about, I believe the shooter in Vegas was, it said 1,500 feet, I think.
It was 1,700 feet.
Yeah, so half second. You know.
That's like supersonic speed, something like that.
Yeah.
Bullet gets there before the sound does.
Yep. This is really important. If you work in an office complex or something, if something happens, you're not going to be able to make a plan right then. You need to do this beforehand. You need to go ahead and get with your coworkers, whatever the business is, get with your boss. Say, hey, we need to make a plan. We need to have a code word. If somebody comes in, something's going down, we need to have a code word we can say where we can all watch this guy, or we can all run to wherever we decide is a safe place. You know, it's like I say, once something like that, and that's what they're doing, they're practicing, but once the bad guy comes in, it's too late. You know, you're just going to have to do what you have to do at that point. So you want to have a plan in place.
I'd say he was in serious trouble.
Yeah. I'd have probably sprayed him in the face first with that thing. And then once he's blind, then hit him in the head with it, you know.
I know.
You know, okay. All right. In conclusion, always be aware of your surroundings, like we talked about. Make a mental note of your entrances and exits. Pay attention to the people around you and their behavior. Extremely important. Have a plan and possibly a backup plan. If y'all are all going to go into a room, let's say he gets in there, what are you going to do with that? So you need to have a backup plan for your plan. If you carry a firearm, be proficient with the firearm, but consider all factors before engaging the situation. Just like last week, you know, if you're trying to shoot the bad guy and you shoot somebody innocently, thank God she wasn't killed, you know. But, you know, that, first off, that would be a horrible thing. Secondly, the legal ramifications are going to be horrible after that. Take your family members, especially you ladies. You need to go to the range. You need to shoot. One thing, before I'd ever got into law enforcement, I shot a lot, but we started doing scenarios where we were in buildings. When you shoot a gun in a building, it's a whole different situation. It just completely disorients you the first time you do it. You're like, oh my gosh. It's like somebody slapped your ears with their hands upside your head. It's something that's completely foreign to you when you do that. So you really need to go out to the range, stand back, you know, don't stand right up there. Let somebody shoot and listen to the gunfire. You know, get acclimated to that. And then shoot the guns yourself, learn them, you know, get used to firearms. Like we talked about, run, hide, fight may not always be the answer in every situation, but you need to have a plan. You need to do something. Standing there in fear is just going to get you hurt, you know. And that's all I have. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
One of my pet peeves, checking out at Walmart or some grocery store, walking out to your car and start loading your groceries.
He's talking about us, lady.
What are you looking at? You're looking at nothing but that car and that trunk or whatever. People around you, there's bad people out there.
Right.
When you're loading your car up, especially ladies, like she said, look around you. I mean, if you see somebody coming toward you, you can at least move around the other side of the car or do something.
Yeah.
Get out of the way.
I
And when
can
you
talk about airport.
when you get that last piece of grocery in your car, you get up and drive off. You can buckle your seatbelt and put your purse away after you get on out the road.
Right.
Before you put your seatbelt on before you get on the highway, of course, but get out of that parking lot quick as you can, especially at night.
Yeah.
But daytime too.
You know, Jay, T-Ray, Mike, myself, we can tell you there's so many things happening, especially in the mall parking lots, that you never hear about. You know, men approaching women. It happens every single day. News don't tell you that, but I'm telling you it happens. Happens a lot. Yes, sir.
And a lot of the security there, if you feel unsafe, ask for somebody to
Sure.
escort you in your car.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
A friend of mine stopped at an ATM of DIP, she was on the way to a big and she carries a pistol with her.
Right.
It's on it's on the console of her car. And she rolled her window down, and looked up, and here comes a guy with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would have thought of this. she pulls that gun up. She said, ever rock, paper, scissors? A gun beats a knife every time. And he turned around and she saw nothing but elbows and him. But who would have thought of that?
Yeah. Right. But he's looking for victims.
Yes,
Because he's a predator.
but she wasn't victim.
Yeah, that's what you don't need to do.
That's why you agree.
Is there any truth to this? I heard that if you put your personal ID number, your credit card or your whatever, your debit card, if you put the number in backwards, it will call the police. It'll give you the money, but it also call the police. Is that true?
No, it is not true. I've researched it. It's an internet scam. It's not even a scam. It's one of those stupid things they put on the internet. You know, ain't nobody gonna make no money off of it. Ain't gonna give your money away. You're talking about put your PIN number in backwards, and it's supposed to basically put out a 911 to let them know that you're in trouble at that ATM. No, it's not, because your number backwards might be my number correct. And so it don't work.
Airport,
Very true.
when I went into
So we know that's not what
Yeah, it don't work.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say about the turkey when I was stuck there for 5 days. We were at the airport. We
Talking
did
about
not.
the country of Turkey?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The Turkey,
Through
the
the-
country of Turkey, yes. We were there. We got there. We didn't know nothing. All we saw is the people moving. The people from the store. They were closing the stores and leaving the airport. We asked them what's going on. None of them told us anything. We said, please explain something's going on. All of a sudden, we hear them, yelling Allahu Akbar all over there and shooting and stuff. And next thing you know, the airplanes started bombing. I mean, on top of the airport. That same day, same night, 3,000 people got killed right there where we were at. So we were stuck at the airport for 48 hours. I had a girl with me. Thank God I am not trained very good, but I had some training. And he takes me to the range. Not that I had a gun to shoot, but I know a few things. I had a girl that was from here. She was the only child they had in the family. First travel she did. I said, if you see any group of people moving, don't go where everybody's going, because if everybody gets killed, you'll be the one to be, this side. So don't follow everybody. You go hide where it's safe. And I told her, you stay with me. So I stayed at the airport for 48 hours. When we left the airport, without food, nothing. We didn't have water or anything, because we had nobody. Everybody was gone. We left the airport. We got on a bus. The protesters were all over. They were shaking the bus. They were like that, and shooting and trying to kill us. Thank God they did not. I mean, we were saved by God, because for them people, we would have been killed. Anyway, we got to the hotel. We were told that we couldn't leave and go anywhere. The shooting was still happening all the time. That happened for 5 days. The day I left the hotel to come home, the shooting was still going on. And at 2 o'clock, instead of taking 15 minutes, it took me 2 hours to get to the airport on a taxi. So you have to be prepared in any case, whatever happens, you have to think the safest way what to do. Like you said, think what is safe for you, because the airport was 2 floors. And so I told the girl, let's go on the 2nd floor. Whatever happens on the 1st, we'll find a good spot. And if we see that something really, the whole airport is going down, then we can run. Find the stairs, the nearest stairs, and run. But anyway, we went through hell, but thank God we're alive, and I'm here, so. I want
And a lot of you guys have been in the military. Her point is this, is one of the things, is that I told her, just like what she's saying, if you see a group of cattle out here, so to speak, or a group of deer, let's say, I mean, it's open field. She knew to go where there's only a few people standing around. And that was a good thing, because just like this mass shooting they had, in Los Angeles or Las Vegas, whichever one it was, and so, but anyway,
Yeah,
in
usually
Las
they
Vegas.
will go for the big crowd instead of the small, but I told everybody, please, don't stay big group, just separate as much as you can. Somebody will be saved. And there was a time that I couldn't talk anymore because we had no food, no nothing, we were tired.
This is no different, and like, again, like Steve was saying, this is no different than you fly to New York or wherever else out here, and you get off a plane, this happens. It don't have to be Turkey, it can happen here in the United
It
States.
could happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere. Mr. Ray, you had a comment?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
This is something, this is sort of to me, the secondary aspect of the whole situational awareness thing. And I know it's really important to guys like Steve and Mike and T-Ray and some of the others. And that's just the awareness part of that, because at some point, the police are gonna come in and they wanna get good witness reports. You all know how terrible witness reports are. When you first brought up that list, did you go one up? The first one I think that's on that list was the Malvo and Mohammed shootings. Their last 10 or 12 victims were in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area where I lived. That's where I lived back when all that was going on. And the first couple of incidents, some eyewitnesses reported seeing a white panel van. And for weeks and weeks and weeks after all that was going on, I think it went on for like 2 or 3 months up there. That's all everybody was looking for. I guarantee you there wasn't one of us in that area up there that when we stopped to get gas or something like that, we didn't get out, put that thing in there and kind of crouch down and look around everywhere for white panel vans.
Right.
You know the punchline.
Right.
They weren't in a white panel van.
Right.
Because they've gotten bad eyewitness reports.
Right.
So that's to me is just kind of an extension of the whole situational awareness thing.
Right.
Jay, you had a comment?
I was going to say on the ATMs. You know, everybody pulls up to an ATM. You know, think about before you pull up to an ATM, watch the surrounding vehicles sitting around there, because there's been several people who have gone to pull their money out of the ATM and somebody snatches it and takes your vehicle too. So another aspect of this, if you do carry a firearm, we've had a rash here the last months of vehicle burglaries in Mobile County. You know, your firearm in your vehicle, in your glove box or your console is not doing you any good if you're inside a Walmart or you're inside your house, because it's just leaving something for somebody to steal. You know, if you're going to have a firearm protection, make it be justifiable, make it count for what you're carrying for, practice with it, and carry it.
One thing I meant to say when we were on this, notice the dates, 2002, 2007, 2009. Well, then look, 2012. Yeah, they're happening more frequently. That's the scary part. More frequently, and actually there's a few in there that I left out. Just didn't,
Do you think most of those people that did these crimes need some mental help?
I've heard video games, all that, and I went back, and y'all know who Charles Whitman was, right?
James Tower, the Texas Tower?
Texas Tower. The one thing, he didn't play video games, but it happened. But he was on medication for the same medication they give now for depression and ADHD. He was on that. Now, I don't know. I know medications affect people in different ways. A million people could take it and not have a problem, but one person might. And
Many of the people on the list have.
many of those people, not the nightclub, but the movie theater, the school, both of those guys were on drugs.
And everybody's got a theory, but one of my theories is not only are they sick or demented or on drugs or whatever, there's some evil in this world.
Yeah.
Just plain out evil.
Yeah. The media making
Mike, Mr. North, I think she wanted to say something.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I have a question for Steve.
Yes, ma'am.
My friend works for USA, she's in financial aid, and they work down a long hall with offices.
Right.
Because they can't carry on campus, they've given them all a can of wasp spray.
Wasp spray.
She knows it, you know.
Yeah, hornet spray.
I don't know that they have an action plan.
Yeah.
You know, they just have, that's all they have, and she and I have talked about it several times, and we run early morning downtown sometimes.
Right.
So we, you know, we are all about being situationally aware.
Oh, that's
But
good.
what could she do in her job situation to be more proactive?
Let me put it this way, and this is me, this is what I would do. I would rather have to find another job than be sitting in a casket. So,
Well, I'm there with you.
because when it comes to that point where she has to do something, take something out of her purse, you know, what are they gonna say?
Right.
She may have saved hundreds of people's lives. You never know.
We were going to get on campus with it.
You know.
We lived in the Washington DC area, and I can attest, that was a very terrifying time.
Yeah.
To even go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, it's very, very scary.
Correct.
And the lawyer that shootings, you have listed have one in free zone.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them, yeah. Yeah.
Steve, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't hear a lot of this, but I'm thinking about us ladies. You know, we're not real good at thinking of what we would do. You know, we're busy in and out.
Right.
Say you go into your car, you're not aware, and you get in, and somebody comes on the other side and opens the door, and gets in your car.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard people say before that it's better to scream and yell and take your car and hit every car you can to get out and scream, or some people say, no, it's better just to keep your mouth shut.
Bail out the car is what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean, if they take you off somewhere, you have no.
Right,
Yeah.
you
You
gone.
know, once they get you away. This guy right here, if you can get the book, it's called The Deliberate Stranger. He, out of all serial killers, to me, was probably, if you ranked them, he would be at the top. Because this guy here, he knew how women think. And what he would do, he was convicted of 30. The FBI came to him and said, we think you did 36 homicides. And he smiled and said, well, if you put a 1 in front of that number, you'll be closer to the truth. So he's claiming he killed over 100 women. He would go, he started in, I think, Tacoma, Washington. They caught him in Tallahassee, Florida. He came all the way across the U.S. killing people, killing women. That's all he killed. He would basically dress really nice, you know, polo shirt or button down with a tie, make himself look as harmless as possible. He had an arm cast and a leg cast that he kept in his car. And what he would do is he would sit in a grocery store and watch it. And if he saw women coming and going, you know, that were frequent, then he would leave there and go find a secondary location, a park or, you know, an area that's secluded, and he would find all the exits, how he can get away from there. And he'd come back to the store and he'd wait for that one woman that he wanted. As soon as she got out of the car and started walking in, he'd pull up as close to her car as he could. He'd get his arm cast or his leg cast out, and he'd walk in the store and he'd watch her. And she's, you know, buying her groceries and all that. And he'd go around and he'd pick up a few items, and he'd wait till she went to check out. He'd run up there real quick, put his stuff in, and check out. So then he would kind of take his time, make sure she's coming out with her grocery card or whatever, her bags. And he'd walk a little bit in front of her, and he'd drop his stuff. And then he would fumble and act like he couldn't get it. Well, it's women's nature. They're going to help, you know. Another woman would come over, hey, can I help you? It's, oh, you are so nice. So she'd pick up his,
Oh, you will.
she'd pick up his groceries, and he drove a Volkswagen Beetle of all vehicles. You know, he wanted to look as harmless and nerdy as he could possibly look. And he'd go over, and he'd fix the passenger side door where he couldn't open it from the inside. He'd go over, he'd take his keys out, you know, he'd unlock it, open it, and he's like, thank you, you're an angel. She set the groceries down, and then he'd hit her as hard as he could, right either in the temple, or he'd hit her right here. How many boxing fans do I have? What happens when you hit somebody here or here?
They're out.
You knock them out cold.
Yep.
She's out cold, he puts handcuffs on her, and he takes her to a secondary location. And that's it. You know, after he kill her, he'd take all her cash, her credit card, and all that. And we're talking about back in the 80s when we really couldn't track stuff. We didn't have the video surveillance we have now and all that. But he studied psychology. He was studying to be a lawyer, of all things. And he just knew how people think, especially women. He knew how they think. He knew, you know, how many of you have been in the store and some man come up to you out of nowhere, start talking, and it's like, dude, this dude's a creep. I gotta get away from him. He knew that, so he would never do that. He would make it like, I'm the helpless victim, help me, but he really wasn't. He would, you know, kidnap him, knock him out, kidnap him, and he'd kill him. Yes, ma'am.
We were at LSU, Mike the Tiger's new habitat last Saturday. And there was this really pretty woman, long blonde hair, but it was 80 degrees. She had on knee-high rubber boots. She had on a trench coat, belted with her hands in the pockets. And nobody was paying any more attention to her than they were a pig. And Alan and I both said, if we were profiling, we would pick her immediately.
Right. Right.
And I don't know what her deal was. She just kind of walked around and.
Fortunately, she didn't act odd.
Yeah, no.
You know,
Well, she was out of place.
She was out of place just by the way she dressed. And we sat there and watched her just to make sure she wasn't acting weird or gonna, you know, do anything odd. But you just never know.
One thing I would incorporate, if I were y'all, is in law enforcement, if you ever watch Cops or any of these shows, we're always saying, let me see your hands. You know, nothing else, unless you got monkey feet, you can't hurt me with your feet, okay? But your hands can hurt me. You always want to watch people's hands, where they're good with their hands, where they got their hands, you know, got their hands in their pocket, they got their hand on their shirt. You just keep an eye on people like that.
Break down on the side of the road too, that they have decoys where there's people hide in the bushes and come out.
Oh, yeah, and they'll take a woman, have her walk out there.
Right.
Pull up and do run out with a gun, you know, carjack you or whatever.
When I worked at the bank, one of the things we watched as tellers was you let somebody come in that's got a hood. I mean, we watched this guy come in. He had a hood. All the tellers were aware of what he was doing. He kept turning his head, turning his face away from the tellers because he knew we had surveillance. You know, we all were aware of everything, and it worked out okay because he wanted to cash a check and he didn't have the right ID, and before he realized anything more, he ran, and we kept the ID. But hoodies are bad. I remember.
Within 3 miles of here, there was a business. A man walked in with a sword, and they arrested him. He had duct tape and a rope in his car. What does that tell you? Within probably the past 3 months, within 2 or 3 houses of my house, a young man, 19 years old, was on spy, stabbed a hole through the front door. His elderly people lived there. They opened the door, let him in. The man had a gun, told his wife to go get the gun. He decides to sit on the couch and continue to threaten them. And they got him half dressed about a block away from the house because the wife finally comes back up with a gun, and the elderly gentleman told him to leave, at which he did leave. But I'm just telling you, the only difference between 9046 House Ferry Road, I think is the address, and your address is the numbers. The only difference between happening over at this company where the guy came in with a sword to grab probably a victim there is the numbers on the address of the door. It's a time when we need to pay attention of our surroundings. It don't cost, it doesn't bother us one bit to get a call, to sit there and say, come to your house or your business or whatever else, because just like what Janora's saying and out, here's somebody standing around out there and she's out of place. Something ain't right. It's 97 degrees. She's wearing boots and a jacket. Let us check them out.
Well, I just read a thing like 48 hours ago or less, at about 3:30 in the morning. some guy kicked in the door to a house, went in there and stole the purse while the people were home.
And something else we're seeing a lot too is people that are on meth or whatever, and they're high, going in people's houses thinking it's their house. We get that at least once or twice a month. We had one on Celeste Road where it was an elderly lady. He went in, knocked her door in, went in and crawled in her kitchen cabinets, moved all the stuff and crawled up in there and said, "They're after me, they're after me."
Joe, can you catch some lights?
All right, that's all I got.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, keep all this stuff, pass it on to your friends and everybody. Ladies, please don't leave your purses in your car for 5 minutes. There was one, I'll say one last thing and I'll let it go, but Steve's right on target with everything he said tonight. But I worked, one of my last calls was I'll just say it was like kind of like a bank, but it wasn't. Anyway, these two ladies worked with each other. She sits there and she says, "Hey Sandra, will you watch my purse?" "Sure." "Okay, I'm going to the bathroom," whatever. She goes to the bathroom. Some guy, I guess he's standing out in the hall, he comes over and he says, he comes in, he says, "Oh, she told me to get her purse." She says, "Okay." Lets him walk out with the purse. Boom! Don't find out who he is or anything else like this. Now he's got every bit of her information, keys to the car, the whole 9 yards. That quick. 5 minutes. But again, don't be complacent. You have the right to sit there and say, "Wait a minute, she'll be right back," or whatever. Refuse.
One thing, and you don't hear much about when they kidnap children. When my youngest son was little, we had a code. We had a code, password.
Right.
And I used to tell him, if anybody comes and tells you your mother said they're to pick you up, I said, you always ask for the code. And if they don't know the code, you turn around and run the other way and say, "Get away from me, get away from me." You don't hear much about that anymore.
Good idea.
They say it on TV all the time. It just depends on,
Caleb.
Justice Channel.
Come here, big man. Go over there to Miss Sandy and pick one of them tickets for us.
You get the one that's got this number on it.
All right, we're going to give away a little something here. It's a nice little something.
Just one?
Just one right now.
Okay, the last three numbers are 475. 475.
All right, Austin. Come on up, Austin. Take your first piece of hand equipment. Come on, buddy. Come on up here. I want to tell y'all something else real quick, like it's kind of funny. It's a good, bad thing in a way. It's not really bad. Here you go, big man. Tell your daddy can't have it. All right, good deal. There's your first piece of hand radio equipment. I had everybody in here 2 carabiners each from the courtesy of University of South Alabama Police Department. They gave me a great big bag of them. Well, Lee Hughes and I went through the Shriners last week, and I came in with a lot of them, and I took the bag up and I gave it to Hodge, and I told her, I said, "Give some out to the people here and everything." Well, she turned around and she gave the whole bag to the children who were in the burn unit and that goes to the kids. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And it was, I told her, I said, "Give away, there was like an amount of people here, give one to everybody here, and then we'll take the rest home," whatever. Well, she gave away the whole bag to somebody, but they're en route to Houston to the burn unit there for the kids and everything. I will get some more, but that's the reason everybody didn't get 2 carabiners apiece tonight. That's what I was going to give away. But anyway, well, I'll get some more of them, and that's kind of, like I said, a good, bad thing in a way. Not really so bad. But anyway, we've got about 35 people here in attendance tonight. Share what you learned. Again, we thank Steve Hale for this information tonight. Take it with you, share it with the people out here. We're probably going to run over. Generally, our custom is after the meeting, we run over to Foosackly's over here, get a little yard bird or whatever. And Mr. Larry's got one more thing to say.
One announcement, a reminder, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, CQ Worldwide DX Contest. Phone. Single side band.
Start without me, Larry.
Is it any
Start
particular,
without you.
is it any particular frequency?
160 through 10. 160 through 10. Now, 2 meters is not part of it.
Okay. All right. Very
Also, this weekend is the simulated emergency test.
Yes.
If I go on the ARRL, they've got the frequencies. I posted it on the Facebook page. The military is going to do a broadcast from one of their high-powered HF stations, and they want everybody to turn in signal reports. gonna have two of them. They have one that's gonna be Saturday morning and one that's gonna be Saturday.
When is that out? This is on the outside here.
It's on the,
Okay.
I'll make sure you just get it.
Hey, we got a great club here. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Let's just keep it going like it is. Let us know. It's about you. Let us know what you want to talk about next time. Get with Larry. It'll happen sometime in the future. We sure appreciate you. You get a chance to come to the tailgater November 4th, I guarantee you're going to have a good time. And we won't give away any of our prizes to whoever comes up. I'll make sure Hodge don't. Thank you again. We'll see you next month.